But there is a group of people who steer this planet. And they are multimillionaires, often Zionists. That doesn't mean that they're Jewish, all of them. You can be a Zionist, for Israel without being a Jew. But they own the mass media in general. They own the money. They really steer the world. And if you don't obey what they say, something happens like to Kennedy brothers, like to Anna Lindh in Sweden. She was the foreign minister who was killed by a mind-controlled patsy.
But do we have some kind of proof that Anna Lindh was killed in that way?
Well, the proof is absolutely there because of the behavior of the Yugoslavian young man who did it. He said he was hearing voices, and that is what they are doing. Now, normal people think, and some doctors even, old-fashioned, which generally the doctors know nothing about these fields. But anyway, we have no education in it, none. You have to find out yourself if you want to know.
But you're a doctor, and you
yes,
were,
but
you
I
were
found
highly
out
educated.
yes, but I didn't get it in my education. No doctor gets not one word, not on parapsychology, not on mind control, not on our contacts with cosmos, not a word. But he was hearing her voices, giving him orders. The same happened with in Norway with Anders Breivik, because he was also hearing voices. And that is...
Was that something he stated? Was it something he said?
Yes, he heard, yeah. And the thing is that they educate, quote, quote, young men as criminals, I would say, as serial killers. And it is done in different ways. That's mind control. And that is that you start hearing voices and they microchip you without your knowledge. That can be done.
What is a microchip?
A microchip is a very, very tiny chip that is put into your ear, through the nostrils, into your eye, or any part of your body. And it's so small, you can get it with a handshake. It's so small that it's 2 micromilli.
How would you be able to get it from a handshake? Is that...
Yes, if I had it and I would say hello to you, there's nothing you can do, you're chipped. But also, you're chipped if you took the swine flu influenza vaccine, because there was a microchip. It's a global plan. American colonel who 30, 50 years ago almost taught me how to bend spoons with your thoughts. I was shocked when I was able to do that in a 100th anniversary year of the Society for Psychical Research at the University of Cambridge. And he was already in Los Alamos doing research with mind control on these military things. Many times people say, who are they? Who is behind the scenes? Who is exactly steering all this? In the middle, that's the New World Order, the symbol. On this side, there's the Star of David. Star of David, who has Star of David? And on this side, there is CIA, FBI, and the British intelligence. They are them. New World Order was the name. But then, the Star of David, of course, is very clear. And they do have, Israel is very, very powerful, and they have technology to attack Palestinians with this technology. Only Palestinians. In South Africa, Dr. Death was able to develop a system that only attacked the blacks. I mean, why do we, as human race, always make something negative? Why don't we make this system to make everybody a loving person, to heal everybody, and to have a good life for everybody? That could be done, but why don't we do it? That's up to everybody. And if we use our brain capacity en masse, we can change the mountains. I mean, really, you can change the mountains.
You've had certain things disappear in your home. You just mentioned when we first met that you had a set of car keys were left behind. Can you explain more about that?
Well, when I started going public, which I've been doing for 20 years or something, then things started happening. I mean, all of a sudden, when I moved here, 1 week after, I came home and I looked around, and all the carpets that I had here were not here. They were taken somewhere else in another room. So somebody had been here.
But that's very blatant. That's huge.
Yeah. Then, of course, they just showed that nothing was gone. No money, no nothing. No jewelry was gone. But the carpets were. Then next time, the furniture was replaced in a different position. So they wanted me to understand that I'm under surveillance. It shows white vans always parked near you. Neighbors are always involved somehow in surveillance and harassment. That's the routine. And they can just
what way
send...
are they involved? Do they buy out the neighbour, or does the neighbour move in as a person to do that?
They don't move in, but they do surveillance and they report. For instance, when I got a long distance 1 hour call from Switzerland talking about microchips and mind control. Immediately, somebody living close by, after I had hung up, took the car and left. I mean, I think it's surveillance, or at least I know that my telephone is under surveillance. But that's the way they do it. And so it can be from neighboring house, if you live in an apartment house, from neighboring house or a neighboring room, from the air, or from wherever, even from satellites. And how can you defend yourself against satellites? You can't.
You were in a conference and you wanted to move your room. Could you go over that?
Yeah, I was in England. I've been many times lecturing there. And they always place me in the corner next to the exit, you know, so that...
Which conference was this?
It was in Leeds. And so next to the exit, so somebody who wants to come in or go out can easily come in and go out. You know, they can access any they have keys to every single place in the whole world if they want to. So I wanted to change. I thought, hey, maybe they're doing some beaming or whatever, because you're always a target when you go out with information. And if like every time I have lectured or done something, they do something. Like they heard surely that from the telephone that I'm going to have an interview with you. What happened? I came home yesterday. My postbox was smashed. 23rd time on the 23rd of January. They always use symbolism. And 23rd,
what's the symbolism in there?
Just harassment. It's just harassment. Just harassment. And then a friend of mine who picks up my mail said that, once she opened it, it was filled with snow. I mean, it's impossible. They've filled it with snow, and my containers for rubbish with snow or with water or whatever. And the people who clean up the rubbish for 5 weeks didn't clean up. There were just, white little masks going around. And it's harassment. They think that when you're being harassed so much, maybe you will shut up. Maybe you get frightened. 33rd International Conference on Military Medicine.
And where was that?
It was held in Helsinki the year 2000. And this was part of my poster presentation.
Excellent.
And there you can see how vans can send microwaves just to one person from the neighboring house. Helicopters can do it, and all kinds of military equipment. And this was, of course, taken from the US.
And how did your research enable you to find out about that?
This was sent to me a long time ago by an Englishman who was doing research.
Excellent.
And I used that.
Okay.
And interestingly, this is my article in internet, which I have not myself put into internet, but it's I counted 13 languages now, even Japanese, Russians, whatever.
Is this based on lectures you've given elsewhere?
Yeah, it's sort of it was the first publication in a medical journal ever in the world, in Spekula, Oulu University in northern Finland, medical club for the students and the medical doctors of North Finland. And this article was printed in their magazine. And it was interesting that already in 1874 in Ohio they put the first implants. Electrodes, they called them then. 1874. Oh. Somebody has been tampering with the text and put 1974, but it was 1874. It was a female patient who died. But still, so already then they were doing research in a Good Samaritan Hospital in Ohio.
That's pretty startling.
Yeah. It's been going on
Even
for a long
common
time.
women, they use mind control on men.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Do you have it? Do you have any information on that? Even
Yes,
common?
I have read the story.
Yeah.
Kim something. What was her? She's dead now.
Yeah.
Many of those ladies died of cancer, and that's what they do.
That's the green and common ladies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Died of cancer.
Yeah.
Because of the mind control and the microwaves.
Of course, but they can cause cancer. The worst thing is that they use illnesses as weapons today. They can beam into you cancer. For rats, it takes only 2 days. But they have another frequency and they can also take it away. But do you think they give it to humans? No.
And do you think that's what the reason is? They need a DNA code for everybody?
Probably. Then they can also cause a myocardial infarction if they want to kill you. If they don't, they just give you angina. It just hurts, heart pain. Or they can give you a stroke. They can give you a diarrhea. They can make you vomit in a second. And this is used as a weapon. Think.
A friend of mine in Dorset experienced that. There was a helicopter flew over her house.
Yeah.
She was just walking in the country and she had something which happened to her which made her.
That's right.
Vomit.
I remember seeing on TV when George Bush Sr. was in Japan on a official visit, and all of a sudden at the dinner he started vomiting. And the Japanese, they went like this, and the film was not shown in the USA. But I just had one question: was it CIA or was it Japanese?
And at President Obama's inauguration dinner, 2 senators.
Yeah, that's incredible. And also when President Obama was giving his oath, something happened, it didn't work the way it should have been. I just thought, who clicked?
Because he was smiling when he did it.
If you have a lifetime friend who you trust with your life, perhaps a loved one, can that person be mind controlled to turn against you?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what they use. They use the person who you trust. Your best friend is always in the list for recruitment. It can be your wife, your husband, your child, whoever. Just like in the Manchurian Candidate. Meryl Streep was the mother of the young man whom she wanted to be president of the U.S. So
yes.
So she, so it was the mother programming. It's always somebody close to you, from your family or your best friend, and that's the devilish plan, because people can't believe that somebody who's been your best friend for years and decades could turn against you. But that's exactly how they do. And of course, that person is also mind controlled to turn against you. So they're both biological robots at the end.
And when you say recruited, does that mean involuntarily or voluntarily?
Both. I think the worst is if you don't know that you're microchipped and then you are steered. If you do know, then at least you can try to resist. Always when you get a thought, hey, I'll go there or do something, so stop. Hey, is it my thought or induced?
Right.
But if you don't know that you're microchipped, and that can happen with a handshake today because it's only 2 micromillimeters when hair diameter is 50. So once you get it into your body, that's it for life. It stays there and you're steered. And there's nothing you can do. You can't even operate it out anymore, because in the 60s and 70s they were size of rice of grain, a little thing, maybe 1 centimeter. But now, since they're 2 micromillimeter, so you can never get it out.
It's nanotechnology.
Exactly. That's what it is. And to prove that you have it, if you want to, you can take an MRI, X-ray, and that gives a signal. It gives a signal. I know a Swedish man who was implanted by the police when he was arrested for something. He was implanted in the prison, and his head. When you have a device that can get the signal, his head really squeaks. And then he had this implant removed, but it was sent to the New York and, of course, disappeared. Nowadays, you can't remove them anymore because...
Anyway, it's somebody who sees with my eyes and hears with my ears, and they can have a wall-through-wall radar in the next house if they want to. And every time I go out, somebody bangs the doors or, surveillance. And also, when I looked at some porcelain thing with lobster signs, oh, I'm glad they haven't taken this. Next day I saw it was gone. So they always react to the things that I concentrate on. I look at the photograph, well, I'm glad this I still have, it's gone. So either they are using this technology of remote viewing, mind control, whatever, through the satellites, or then it is physical, somebody is following with a radar through the walls. And of course that is always in a neighboring house. Oh yeah, they know. They even know your thoughts. And faster than we do, as I've mentioned. Our brain is very, very slow. Well, I've been dealing with, in the conferences with remote viewers, talk to them. One of the trainers is John Alexander at Monroe Institute. I heard that from an acquaintance of mine who was working at the Monroe Institute in Virginia, USA. And there they have layers of, well, it was, I think, three stores down in cellars, and it was for maybe a catastrophe that they would be safe. And the people had to stay in a tiny little studio room with a bed and a little table, and they got things over their ears. And then the leader, whether it was John Alexander or somebody else, because he was dealing with the military personnel, but then there are civilian courses too. Yes. So the leader takes a mic, and all those in their cells hear it, and it starts with the waves of the Pacific. So you get really relaxed, and then it is an order, go. And where do you go? That is, you get out of your body, and you go to a Pacific island, for instance. It's a military base. It's always military, of course, yeah, because that's what they're interested in seeing. And then you go around, hovering around, you see everything, and come back and report. You can go to other planets, you can experience things, you can also go to the frequency of your dead relatives, and you can see them and talk to them. Well, I think it is, because Hollywood movies are often based on reality. Think of, well, movies like Control Factor from 2003. It shows exactly how mind control is done. It's old-fashioned technology, of course. They don't show today's technology. You know, they screw your neck with a device, but you don't need to, because the smallest ones are 2 micromilli. So you know, it's old technology. But the idea is that they microchip you, and after that they control you totally.
How does one try to combat this kind of mind control?
I think number one is awareness. You have to know that the technology exists, and it's nothing to do with pathology or you know, that you're not crazy or whatever. But there's a good exercise, I just read it from a German doctor, that you can sort of, for just 1 minute, do certain exercises. Like this, for 20 seconds, you sort of disassociate. Yes. Then do the same with your ears for 20 seconds, and then do this 2-3 times a day. I couldn't understand how that could work, but I've done it, and it does work. It does work. So that's one thing that you can do.
Does this sort of subtly release tensions in the muscles of the,
yeah,
of the brain?
That's right. Yeah. That's what he seems to instruct. So at least that's something that you can try. And then you have to tell others, because even if they don't believe you, then somebody else tells them, somebody else, a 3rd, 4th, 5th person, then they start seeing that there's something terribly, terribly wrong with planet Earth today and the people who are on the top. Well, you can do it with many, many, many kinds of things, but I think the very usual one is with electromagnetic fields. You're being beamed at a certain frequency. And when that frequency hits you, they have certain frequencies for certain feelings. A feeling of touch, of eyes, of ears, whatever. They have each frequency.
What sort of frequencies are we talking about? Are we talking extra low frequencies?
Well, like some 25 hertz or 9 hertz or whatever. Yeah. And then another thing is they are using drugs. And for instance...
is this in our food? I mean, we've heard of the fluoride debate for fluoride in water.
Well, that's one way. I mean, putting into water and putting into your food all kinds of things that are not good for you, and they know it very well that they're not good for us. That affects also your brain activity and your psyche. But
that's involved with the food which the European Union are forcing on us, the types of
yeah,
chemicals.
well, Americans are mostly forcing it, you know, the American companies, but with gene-modified food and things like that, and we do not know, and nobody knows what's going to happen, because they experiment on long range, and we don't know what happens in a year or 20 years. Just like we don't know what happens, except we start knowing now what happens with mobile phones in 20 years. You know, they cause brain tumors and blindness and deafness and cancer and whatever. It's totally known. But it's experimentation on a long range.
Do you think that those frequencies and those devices are specifically selected to test on us? Or do you think they're changing the species, or trying to kill us, or change us, or whatever?
Well, at least they're making us very sick. And since the goal that I have read of the elite, if I can use that word, is to diminish our population on planet Earth by at least 2/3.